Hello, everybody. It's Royce here, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the live podcast, The Four Horsemen. We go every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. with a live podcast. We try to add some things midweek, shorter things, but every Sunday you can set your watch to it. 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we do our live podcast. So please join us. Okay, so could everybody please do me a proper and hit that like button, the thumbs up button? You don't realize how it doesn't cost anything, of course. You don't realize how important that is. It helps the show get distributed to a wider audience. The algorithm takes it and starts putting it in front of people. If you hit that first milestone of 50, it kind of takes off and you get way more views and way more exposure. So we always encourage people to hit that because it doesn't cost anything. But also, if you're watching and you're not a subscriber, and you're watching the live podcast, or many more people always watch later. They watch after the live podcast. That's the majority of the views. Uh, Please consider hitting that subscribe button. We're building the show. We're trying to gain subscribers, gain viewers. Just it makes the show more fun the more people you have involved. So we really appreciate all of you. So we're going to be talking about the early Beatles. The early Beatles. We're not going to get into their whole catalog of things. But let's see. I am Charlie Kirk. I don't think so. Okay, so just so anybody like Dawson, I know you're backstage, but we limit the panel to four. We typically have three permanent members, and then we wind up having, a guest host every week. And your turn is coming up. I had invited Novice Nick this week. Last week I invited somebody, and the week before that it was Chris Elliott, and we're trying to rotate it around between the guys that are used to coming on the show. Michael Nolan just had to bug out, so we have actually two guest hosts tonight. Michael's equipment wasn't quite working properly. So anyway, like I said, hit that like button. It really helps the show by getting it distributed to a wider audience. And please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. We are building the show, folks. We are building the show. And really appreciate Michael Nolan's super chat there. That's fantastic, brother. Thank you so much. So anyway, let's just get right into this. Let's start talking about the show here, okay? So the Beatles, back to the beginning, how it all started, okay? Well, some people say that the Cavern Club in Liverpool was the making of the Beatles, but it was really a residency through the clubs of Hamburg, Germany in the early 60s that turned them from local wide-eyed boys into real men ready to be rock stars. Ready to be, not rock stars, but ready to be, okay? So McCartney met John Lennon in June of 1957, who was performing with, John Lennon's own band called the Quarrymen. It's kind of a skiffle band. They do some blues and kind of jazzy type rock. And anyway, they met between sets. Paul was there watching the band play, and they got introduced to John Lennon between sets. And what's crazy is Lennon was 16 and McCartney was 15 years old. Yep. I mean, that's unbelievable. So anyway, Lennon, this was between sets. Lennon got up and started playing again. He invited McCartney on stage. And McCartney, after teaching Lennon how to tune his guitar properly, played cuts by Gene Vincent, early rocker that really influenced so many people. He played tunes by Gene Vincent and Little Richard, who was a huge influence on the early Beatles, to show Lennon what he was capable of. Okay, and the two quickly learned they shared a love of American rock and roll, and both were big fans of a movie called The Girl Can't Help It. McCartney's audition for Lennon even included a rendition of Eddie Cochran's 20 Flight Rock from the movie The Girl Can't Help It, a 56 film about a young woman played by none other than Jane Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe's rival, not much competition actually, who dreamed of becoming a star vocalist. Lennon asked McCartney to join the band. The two started practicing together and dabbling in songwriting. When penning tunes, McCartney and Lennon often borrowed a formula that Little Richard had made his trademark, 3 chords played with a contiguous driving rhythm and blues feeling. Okay, folks, we're going to stop right there for a minute and get some comments in here from the panel. Hey, Dan, what do you know about the big early Beatles? How are you tonight? And wait, let me introduce everybody first. I'm sorry. Next to me is my good friend that I've known, in other podcasts way before this one. We got to go back close to 6 years now. Dan McNew, and the name of his show is Just the Facts Man. Just the Facts Man, and his name is Dan McNew. He's got a big channel. Check him out. He's got all kinds of stuff over there. Very diversified, even more than I am. I have other than music, I have, construction and real estate and tours of famous places and things like that. But my focus is the music. I love this part of it. So Dan, how's it going on your channel right now?
Well, I just got remonetized, so that's a good thing. So
I saw that you posted that. I was like, wow.
And why I was demonetized in the beginning, I have no idea. But probably got reinstated, so I'm going to start working on it a little bit more. But like Roy said, I'm very diverse in all my videos. Like everything from music, anything that interests me, I do a video on it. Little mini documentaries, live bands, tribute bands, just about anything. In fact, in December, I'm going to be going to Birmingham, England.
Oh, wow.
Do a little mini documentary about Ozzy. So
that's great, Dan. That's going to be awesome, man. Oh, my God.
Now,
you wouldn't have given to been there about a month ago, right?
I know. Well, that's actually what inspired me to do this.
Okay.
Actually, before Ozzy passed, when I saw the concert, I thought, man, I got to go there. And then Ozzy passed. It gives me even more reason to go now.
Right.
But as far as the early Beatles, I'm not real well versed on the early Beatles. All I know really, I know how they got their name, which I always look at all bands, how they got their name. Most people probably already know it already, but they got their Stuart Sutcliffe is the one that got inspired by Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Yeah.
And decided, well, let's call ourselves the Beatles. Well, John Lennon took another step further and decided, well, let's spell it differently than the normal spelling of the Beatles. Let's put B-E-A-T because we played the beat.
And we're talking Stuart Sutcliffe was the
original
bass player at the time. Correct. Yeah, right on.
Then they decided from the Beatles, well, they used the Silver Beatles for a while. Then they eventually evolved into the Beatles.
Right. Awesome, man. I can't wait to hear about that trip when you get over there, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
If there's any souvenirs, grab me one from the event,
Well, we're going to go see Stonehenge too. A little sidetrack. We're going to go see Stonehenge as well.
Oh, wow.
You're going to reset your watch?
Going to reset my bank account, that's for sure.
Yeah, it'll do that.
Right. Well, let me do a quick shout out real quick to Ergus Splitten Loudboomer, who came in with a super chat. Thank you, Ergus Splitten. Really appreciate it, brother. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I wanted to do that before I went any further. So we'll go down to Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Doing okay, thank you. It's good to see you guys again.
Good. I like your handle of peace. Goes well with the pale horse.
Well, I figured I'd balance it out. Your resurrection, well, Michael's more, Dan's conquest, I'm peace, and your resurrection. Keep it balanced.
There you go. I like that a lot. That's great. Hey, Chris, did you come up with any, any name or anything? I am Charlie Kirk. Yes, you did. Okay, right on.
Now, as far as early Beatles, so I was reading, I know everybody, but on Wikipedia, they were talking about Stuart Sutcliffe. I didn't realize that just within a couple of months, he had subdural or hematoma or something, and he died within a couple of months after leaving the Beatles.
I never heard that either.
Yeah, no, right. I was reading it on Wikipedia earlier when I was doing a little bit of just research for this.
Wow.
And also that says, I can't find it now, but earlier it was saying, I read it, that when George Harrison got deported for being too young, Paul and Stuart were also arrested for arson, and they were deported.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. It was all falling apart there at the end.
I tried looking up to see what it was they were accused of lighting on fire. I could never find it.
I never found it either.
And I got some stuff I can take out of the book later as we go on this evening.
Okay. Okay, so Nick, what you got for us on the early Beatles, brother?
Well, first, I am Charlie Kirk is because, as we all know, I am deaf, the pale horse, and the situation. But he's definitely
Okay.
not going to hell. But I thought, in tribute to the pale horse and to Charlie, I would
Right, right.
be him tonight. Uh, John was rather ornery from the very beginning. He grew up; he was ornery, and
Oh, he had a reputation. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, absolutely. And getting taught how to tune his guitar by Paul didn't help much, but they did hit it off, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
yeah, they were actually the whole group of them on their first trip to Germany. They didn't have any money. I mean, their first jobs as a couple of them was painting and decorating. I mean, it wasn't even playing their instruments. It was doing the hall where people played instruments and played gigs, but they were hired to paint it and decorate it. And they actually
Lighting a
got hired to play because
candle.
somebody didn't show up. And of course, they
Okay.
were missing a drummer at that time. But getting over to Germany, moving forward, they didn't have the funding to get it there. So it was their first manager uh, rented a 10-man bus
Oh
and
God.
loaded up the gear and uh,
God.
headed to Germany. It's a pretty neat story how it all started and the number of drummers they went through and the drummers they
Wow.
didn't
Oh
have when they
yeah.
first started. It was a pretty neat story.
Yeah.
Um, like many things that uh, have humble beginnings, this is another one, and it's a beautiful story. Uh, most of it's beautiful, so I'll let it go on back to you because I don't want to take up too much
No,
time
no, no.
here.
It's
But I
all good,
think
brother. We
we're
appreciate.
getting it started.
Yeah,
This
no, no,
story.
no, no, and we're appreciating your comments all the way down the line. Okay, so George Harrison. After, let's see, Paul was invited to join. Lennon asked McCartney to join the band. The two started practicing together and dabbled in songwriting. When penning tunes, McCartney and Lennon often borrowed a formula that Little Richard had made his trademark. Three chords played with the contagious driving rhythm and blues feel. He was a big influence. We'll talk about that a little more later. So George Harrison joined them in 1958. Okay, so it looked like McCartney joined, almost a year earlier, and then George Harrison in February '58. George and Paul went to school together and were jamming together before Paul joined Lennon's band, the Quarrymen. So John and Paul decided to add a third guitarist. Paul set up an audition for George, good old George Harrison. So on McCartney's prompt, George played Bill Justice's R&B, I'm sorry, getting tongue-tied, R&B instrumental song Raunchy, a #2 hit on Sun Records in 1957. Lennon was impressed with the note-perfect rendition, but concerned about George's young age. Lennon stated George looked younger than Paul, and Paul looked 10 years old with his baby face. But Harrison's skill was too good to overlook, especially for John, who was still very much a novice at his own instrument, the guitar, even though he led the band. So with both George Harrison and Lennon, okay, so both George Harrison and Lennon, our school buddy Stuart Sutcliffe on bass and Pete Best on drums, they started performing together in Liverpool at venues like the Jacaranda and the famed Cavern Club. Staples of their sets include covers of Little Richard classics like Long Tall Sally, Hey, 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 Hey. As their popularity grew, they were invited to perform residencies as the house bands in Germany. You know, band at clubs like Kaiser Keller, Indra, also the residency. This was really important. The residency at the Star Club in Hamburg, Germany, where the recordings of Volume 1 and 2 were recorded from Hamburg, Hamburg, Germany. I have both those albums, and I will be showing them.
Nice.
But the interesting thing, do you have them too, Nick? Is that what you're going to say?
No, I'm just saying nice, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't even expensive, and I listened to them both today. I really enjoyed them because the band got tight. I guess they were playing 8 hours a day. Can you imagine playing in a band 8 hours a day? And they really got their act together, man. Really got their shit together. They were really a tight band. They were getting tighter and tighter. Okay.
Yeah, but
so go ahead.
One of the reasons for that is that's when they started getting handed like preludes and stuff like that, so they could stay up and be energized. One of the stories I was reading earlier said they were up for 3-4 days at a time on those things. They start getting
okay.
Somebody over there was just popping them into them, and that's why they were doing sets like from when they'd start at 7 in the night till 5 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah, some crazy hours.
Yeah, but they were just being fed. And one thing that I also read in Wikipedia, and I forget what other website, the reason they actually got deported was they had a residency at one club, and they decided to play at another club. So the promoter of the first club ratted them out, and George got deported. Stuart and Paul were, charged with arson. So it was kind of a vengeance. Oh, you guys are going to play at another club? Well, how do you like me now?
Right.
If I can add to his comments, the talk about paying your dues in those days. They were playing some ungodly hours, and for near nothing.
Right.
I mean, I was surprised. I mean, they weren't even making enough money to really eat properly, let alone have some place to stay.
Yeah.
But that's where they cut their teeth, let's say, and really paid their dues to get tight and be a working group. So that was really important. None of it would have happened without that experience. You know, the old saying, you got to pay your dues.
Right.
Yeah. Not to mention how rough and tumbled Hamburg was back in those days. If you weren't able to steel yourself up, you were just going to get pushed aside and run over.
Yep. It was
right.
Could I have one thing? When they got back to England and started playing, they said, these Germans have really proper English. They speak English really well, these Germans. I got a kick out of this.
No, that's funny, man.
They thought they were Germans.
I got a question about something. I'm a little confused on the timeline as far as Stuart Sutcliffe and Paul McCartney. Now, they're both bass players, right?
Yes, but Paul McCartney played guitar too,
Okay, because I was wondering, because when I read that Paul McCartney didn't like Stuart Sutcliffe's playing, he said he was a terrible player, and he said he had higher ambitions for the Beatles, and Stuart just wasn't going to cut it, and basically
Stuart wasn't going to cut it. Yeah,
Paul didn't think John could play much either.
Yeah,
that was kind of Paul's thing,
He did kind of have to show him how to tune his guitar.
I mean, right?
Yeah. The first night he ever played with him. I mean, not that I can't relate to that,
Yeah, there's a line out of this book that backs up exactly what you just said, Dan. It was saying that where is it? Lennon convinced his buddy Sutcliffe to take up the bass. Thus, they had 3 guitar players and a bass player, though Sutcliffe was hardly competent.
Okay.
Even they just said it, But then, like I said, he died of a brain hemorrhage just months later. He decided to go back to school. He said, okay, I'm not cut out for this stuff. And he went back to college. And then, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was only 21 years old when he passed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's sad. I mean, seriously sad.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a rumor, I don't know if this is true or not, where Stuart Sutcliffe got into a fight and was kicked in the head. And John Lennon actually pulled the guys off of Stuart Sutcliffe. So
I've heard that story as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if the kick in the head may have something to do with his brain hemorrhage.
You never really know about
That's what I've heard rumors about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because depending back in those days, they were wearing. I mean, but it was I heard it was like a guy on a construction site or something. So he kicked him in the head with steel-toed boots.
Oh,
wow. That's what I heard. I don't know. That's just a version. I mean, it's telephone, right? It changes on down the road.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've heard a similar story, not with the steel-tip boots, but that he had gotten roughed up pretty good. And, you know, back in those days, you were stoned, you got in a fight, you wake up somewhere, and it's like, okay, life goes on.
Yeah.
You don't think about healthcare.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's funny the things you think about as you progress in age.
Yeah, I just wonder what the timeline is from the time he got kicked in the head until the time he did pass. They may not even be connected, but
no, but it's quite likely.
No, but they may be though. You know,
yeah.
I mean, man,
especially what we've learned about brain injuries recently. I mean, hey.
Yeah, if I'm in a band and one night I get beat up and kicked in the head, I'd rethink my future as well. You know, I don't know. This scene just isn't for me. Maybe I can use what's inside it instead of a punching bag.
Well, sometimes I think fighting is part of being in a band too, because I've been around some bands and seen some fights and actually been involved in a couple. So,
yeah.
You know,
look at the Rolling Stones and the Who and all that. They were all brawlers before they started out.
You know, it's also part of growing up. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
We had so many rivalries inner town between Henderson, where I was, and Boulder City up on the hill, and Las Vegas down the hill in the valley. And I mean, they were legendary. They just continued generation after. It's like the Hatfield and McCoys. You know, they just continued generation after generation, and crazy stuff. You know, miracle we all survived it. I got crazy stories, but this isn't the time or place. Anyway, go ahead.
I was trying to find it in here somewhere, but they were the one guy. I think Tony Sheridan. He was one of their one of the musicians that they were all kind of playing with. You know, there was a couple of bands that all kind of stuck together, right? They were all under the manager's name. I forget who the manager was, but the guy was describing just how bad it was in the clubs. He said, "There's like this was real." He says there was blood, there was people getting kicked and punched. He said there was fists flying. He said one time I was up on stage. He said there was a guy getting killed on the floor in front of me, and he said I didn't know. He said I just covered my eyes for a second, cleared my head, and just kept on playing. He goes, you know, back in those days you can get beat up and really bad. He goes, the best people to stay alive are the musicians, because the good guys like the music, the bad guys like the music, the gangsters like the music. So you had a better chance to survive being a musician.
That's right, huh? Yeah, that makes sense, Chris. Thank you. So let's see here. So where were we? I was talking about, okay, I've got the recordings of volume 1 and 2. I'll show them pretty soon. But anyway, playing every night allowed them to hone their live chops. By the time they returned to Liverpool in the Cavern Club, they were seasoned performers, man. I mean, these guys were tight, and the crowds at their shows swelled. The next year, they toured the UK with Roy Orbison and Del Shannon. I mean, big names then, you know, big names now. And then the group got their biggest break yet. They were asked to be the opening act for Little Richard at the brand new Star Club in Hamburg, Germany in late 1962 for 14 shows. Little Richard was riding high, man. Let's listen to this. Little Richard, between 56 to 59, he scored 18 hit singles, with his unique combination of wailing vocals, energetic piano playing, and flamboyant style. I mean, I always heard my whole life Little Richard was kind of ahead of his time. You know, he would have been much bigger had he been maybe 10 years later or something. You know what I'm saying? But he was huge. And
breaking ground will do that.
A lot of
people. I'm sorry. A lot of people emulated or tried to, take pieces of it and learn from what he had done. He was definitely genius.
It was. I've seen the movie on it and everything else, but I mean, he was really amazing. And he wound up going back into gospel music for a long period of time, then coming back out, things like that. But go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. One of the more notable tributes to Little Richard, I guess, would be the intro to Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll. that was taken directly. I don't know which song it was, but directly from one or two Little Richard songs.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that. Okay, so
just I know it's off topic, but we're just talking about Little Richard, so I throw that.
Yeah, well, the Beatles were fans of all those guys: Gene Vincent, Little Richard, Buddy Holly. They were fans of all of them. But not only did McCartney and Lennon get to meet their idol, they loved Little Richard. But they also got to observe and spend time with Little Richard backstage. Little Richard would later recall helping McCartney hone his vocal style in the green room. And once their residency in Hamburg concluded, Little Richard joined the group in Liverpool to see them perform at the Cavern Club. He got a glimpse of what was to come, was impressed by the group's energy. He foresaw the success of the band in America, you know. And so anyway, we'll go back and just see what everybody has to say about that. You know, go ahead, Novice.
Yeah, I just have a question since Chris brought it up. Led Zeppelin, as everybody knows, there's an EP that's been released, and has anyone ordered it, heard it in the gallery? If you've ordered it, put a one. Just post a one in the gallery. How about you guys in the on screen?
Well, you're talking about
the live EP.
Physical graffiti, or no?
Oh, I don't have it yet.
Well, it's physical graffiti, but at the same time, they released a live EP of, I think, 4 songs.
With it though, right? It's kind of like a...
No, it was sold separately.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, no, I haven't. I ordered some other stuff. I don't want to bring it up right now. And that'll all become obvious later because of who I ordered them for. But no, I haven't seen that one. But there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. I know Jimi Hendrix has a box set, Axis Bold as Love. And I'm a huge Hendrix fan. I'll have a hard time.
Yeah,
I'll have a hard time not doing that.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, they really are.
I saw that Rockin' Robin had a question about, you know, how many people have actually been in the Beatles. We know that's what I thought. Really that's what I thought. 6. You know, we got the four known Beatles. Then there's Stuart Sutcliffe and Pete Best.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Pete Best was just supposed to be a temporary member anyway. They only wanted him along for the first Hamburg trip.
Yeah, he didn't have much experience at all.
Yeah.
He's underrated though. He wasn't a bad drummer.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just didn't fit the mold, you know.
Yeah.
And I heard that Ringo was brought in because he was a little older and he was, you know, supposed to keep the other ones in check, although Ringo was quite the character himself, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters out there, especially in music.
Especially drummers. What is it with drummers?
Right. Yeah, what's with that? Well, you know, I just found out yesterday, and I saw it again advertised today, that David Grohl is showed up this weekend at a small venue.
Wow.
And I really wished I'd have gone, you know. But we missed out on that one. There's always something coming up. You know, we've got some venues here that bring a lot of people in, you know, like the Vienna Robles Amphitheater. I've seen Alice Cooper there. I've seen Jason Bonham there. I've seen Robert Plant and Alison Krauss there. And just a bunch of other people. They've always got, it's a small venue. It's a wonderfully small venue. And, you know, there really aren't any bad seats. I mean, some of the cheaper seats, which are in the lawn area, you can bring a lawn chair or something, are actually way cheaper than what's considered better seats at tables up above, you know. So it's always cool to go there. I really enjoy it. I saw, who else did I see? I saw Bryan Adams. I might have seen, no, that Rod Stewart was down in Santa Barbara, the Santa Barbara Bowl. That's a great venue too. He comes there. God, he comes there like every year. Rod Stewart does. When I saw him, he had a broken foot. He broke his foot playing soccer, and his big cast on his foot. He wasn't supposed to be walking on that cast, but he didn't care. He's out there trying to dance and stuff. And I understood he had to sit down for the next few shows after that one. You know, his foot hurt so much. But anyway, we appreciated him trying to give it his all. And that's a weird venue there because it was built so long ago that there's no parking. you have to drive around through these residential streets. Some of them have garage doors that are like right behind the sidewalk, 3 feet from the street is a garage door. And you have to drive around these residential neighborhoods looking for a place to park. It's like insane. I haven't been real motivated to go back. I mean, I will, but it's kind of hard to want to deal with that again. We walked for like miles to get to the show, the Rod Stewart show. It was worth it though. I'd never seen him before. Betty had seen him. She saw him when she was much younger. So
Well,
anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just saw it in the chat. Who was it? Somebody brought up, let's see, McGraw-Y'all said Jimmy Nicol was a Beatles for 2 weeks in July of '64. And I just looked that up. That is,
Okay.
yeah, he sat in for Ringo Starr for 8 shows in 1964
No
World
kidding.
Tour during the height of Beatlemania.
Well,
So there was another one. Very
what was wrong
temporary.
with
but
Ringo?
I'm not sure. Ringo's always been, when he was younger, did have a
Yeah.
lot of health issues. So that could
Yeah.
possibly been it.
Yeah, this
Emphysema.
this comment
I'm
by
sorry.
Michael Nolan, it's like I've ordered the Led Zeppelin live EP. It was supposed to arrive on the 12th. It's still showing as being prepared. A major disappointment. I ordered from another outfit, Celebration Day, paid for at least about a year ago now from Merch Bar, and I'm also on the notification list at Tower Records, and Betty just says, hey, just go on eBay and pay $300 for one. It's not worth the hassle. And I'm like, yeah, 300. I mean, it costs $50. It's hard to go pay $300 for one on eBay. It may not be opened. Go ahead, Novice. What do you got to say?
I actually got my money back from that same company that you ordered from.
I'm gonna call them and substitute something, because it's been forever, I tell you, it's got to be a year, at least a year now.
Yeah, I refuse to do business with someone that presents something for sale to be delivered now, right?
Right,
Because that's how it was
right.
represented. And like you've been waiting a year. I waited several months. I'm like, you have, unless you write pre-order or say waiting to be pressed or whatever, no disclaimer at all.
Right.
Had it for sale as if it was sitting in the back room. I don't do business with people like that.
I respect that, because that drives me crazy too. I won't order from these guys again, but I want to get. I'll just pick something they have and just get it, because it's not like I don't buy records. I'm out looking for them weekly,
Right.
But they got to have something I'll be happy with.
But that's a reason. That's a reason I use PayPal when I order.
Right.
Because I contacted them several times. Nothing. Put off. I contacted PayPal once. I said, these are the steps. I sent the emails that I sent them. That money, 3 days, it was back in my account.
Right.
I got no time for
foolishness. That's exactly right. It's just so irritating when that happens. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on here a little bit. Who do we got in the chat here? Brian Bingham's here. Dwayne Wolodica's here. Good friend James Watson is here. The Quarrymen's drummer Colin Hanton is still alive at age 86. That means all of John's early drummers are still alive. Colin, Pete Best, and Ringo. Isn't that freaking crazy? Isn't that crazy? I mean,
yes, it is.
What was I, 11 years old? They're all still alive. Hey, there's hope. We may get to our 80s, guys.
Well, you're talking about ages. Earlier, you were talking about like Paul and John being 15, 16. Don't forget that makes George, 13 and a half, 14? Something like that.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
None of them were old enough to even play in the clubs they were playing. Hey, we gotta say hi to Oberheim. Hey, Brandon, how you doing? That's my buddy from down under Australia, and I got a special place in my heart for Australia. So I'm always excited when I see Brandon Oberheim here. Good to see you, Brandon. Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
I do have a quick story about age, if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, I would like to hear it.
Okay, well, I had a young group of ladies in. Everyone knows I have a restaurant, and they were dining in. They were very young, and some music was playing, and I said, "Hey," I said, "you know, people your age think you're pretty cool, and I don't blame you. When I was your age, I thought I was really cool." I said, "But do you know who was really cool?" And they were like, "No, who? Tell me." And I pointed at my 91-year-old mother. I said, "You see that age group? That's cool." I said, and I showed him a picture of "Wish You Were Here" from Pink Floyd, of the cover where he was on fire. I
Yeah.
said,
Oh yeah,
people
yeah.
your age all use, graphics and computer imagery. And this guy, God bless his soul, he just passed. He was actually on fire, and they like
Yeah.
fell out of their chairs. They're
And,
like, "Wait,
and
what?"
you know what? It wasn't like a real smooth thing. I think that was like a little scary.
Well, it was absolutely scary. But
No, I know, but they do it all the time now. They have it all worked out. But I think back
right,
then it
yeah.
was kind of a little bit of groundbreaking.
E-
Doing that.
Exactly. So I said, I said, now mom's 91. That's the kids that were wearing those short mini skirts and those, knee high boots and all that, driving those muscle cars. That was cool. I said, and matter of fact,
Right,
they were so
right.
cool. They were also storming beaches at 17 and 18 and 16 years old. I said,
Yeah,
that was a generation. And they
yeah.
thanked me for sharing all of that with them, and I think kind of shifted parts of their thinking in life,
Right.
which is something us older folks always strive to do. If we can add a little bit of knowledge, it's always good. I always learn so much
Right,
here, and I
right,
appreciate you
right.
guys.
Hey, likewise.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Nick. It's good to see you here. I know we've made some changes with the channel. I just thought, it made more sense to. We've got four people here. We all are a big picture. Every once in a while, you're showing something. You still want to get big and stuff, but it was like it just got to be too much at some point to have five, six. I mean, it was extreme to have seven. We didn't have that wasn't very often, but five and six was common. Everybody turns into a small picture. You got to make everybody big, make them small, make them big, make them small. But that wasn't it. I just wanted a little more structure. That was the main thing. A little more structure. And I
Yep.
think four people is great. And so far we've just got three permanent members of the Four Horsemen, but we have all you guys, Nick and Chris and let's see, we had Hop Frog Dave here last week, and it's all the guys that would come on sometimes. Chris came on all the time, and Novice, he pretty much came on all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, and
But we're
Dawson.
just right now we're just and Dawson. Right now we're just kind of rotating that fourth chair, between the
Yeah,
guys,
that's great.
and trying to give everybody an opportunity. At some point, we may have a permanent fourth member. We're just kind of just floating with this right now.
Hey, Chris, all,
Yes.
all we need is one more vote. We can get rid of this guy. No, I'm
Yeah.
I
kidding.
know. I know. But I'm trying to keep that in my pocket so we can
Yeah.
blackmail him later.
Right?
Got to keep something for blackmail.
It's always
Right?
so much fun being here. Appreciate you, Royce.
Absolutely.
Well, I try to have fun on the shows, and we do the best we can, and nobody's perfect, but it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable doing this, and people don't realize how much time you put into it. I mean, Sundays are, I would say, somewhere around noon. Everything gets shut off. Like this morning, my wife and I were working on a beautiful bench she rebuilt. We were about to throw it away, and she rebuilt. It's just stunning. It's on Facebook. But we're working on that this morning, finishing touches, screwed the last pieces on. She did a beautiful job painting it. She's really crafty. I mean, she's made 5 foot tall nutcrackers. She's made a carousel with horses on it that you got a remote and it turns. It's just amazing. I mean, I won't say that I don't have to jump in and get in the middle of some of it.
Right.
Uh,
So is that why you speak an octave higher now?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I'm a little twisted here, you know.
Absolutely.
You know that.
Hey, brother Joseph Blue is here. Ringo Starr was hospitalized with tonsillitis on the eve of the Beatles' 1964 world tour. Instead of canceling, their manager Brian Epstein hired Jimmy Nicol as a temporary replacement for 10 days. Well, that's a great story, Joseph.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Joseph.
much for sharing that. And you know what? A lot of stuff like that happened back then. And, you know, you just never know who's going to get sick or whatever. Thanks, Joseph. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was back in the days where we all got sick. I remember,
right.
I remember having the measles, the mumps. I had all that.
All of it, right? The mumps.
Well,
I remember 4th of July, and I had a sparkler with the mumps, you know. The sparks were popping on me, you know.
I was reading an article back in those days when in the neighborhood, if one of the kids got the measles or the mumps, all the women would take their children over to that house to get
so they
it
could
over
all
with.
Get it. So they could all get it.
So everybody
right?
get it, and they had herd immunity, and you know
that's
made
a really
sense.
interesting concept, but I kind of remember that.
Yeah, we all
and
lived
people
through
remembered to get their kids vaccinated and all that other good stuff.
You know, when I was a kid, I got 5 brothers and sisters, you know, and at one time everybody got the chicken pox. Everybody, but me.
Wow,
I didn't get the chicken pox.
Naturally immune.
And I was tested about a year ago. I am immune to chicken pox. So
I figured as much.
Wow.
Yeah,
which also gives you one up on shingles too.
Shingles,
Yep. Don't even want to discuss that.
Yeah, I had
that one when I was a kid, and that was more than enough for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mother remembers most of it. She goes, "Oh yeah, you were like I can't. I was so young, I don't remember, but oh yeah,
right.
I can't imagine what it'd be like getting an adult." Hey, may I add something back to the Beatles?
Yes, back to the Beatles, please.
Again, we're taking stuff from the
the
Holy Bible of Rock.
There you go. I looked for that book, couldn't find it.
I've actually got one like that. Yeah.
Oh, nice, Dan.
This was from the editors of New Musical Express.
And what year was that? What edition is that? What year?
The new fully revised edition, circa 1977.
Oh, that's the new one.
That's the new one. That's the new one. Are you serious?
I'm positive, buddy. Okay. So anyhow, it's when they got back from Germany at first. It says they were rawer and cruder, and their stamina and intensiveness considerably strengthened, as we mentioned earlier. And then they began to make a solid reputation for themselves in the Northwest when they played a return engagement in Hamburg, during which they did their first recordings under the direction of Bert Kaempfert, which I didn't realize that, as backing musicians to Tony Sheridan. So they were first recorded not as the Beatles, but as backing musicians to Tony Sheridan, who was the guy who told that story about somebody getting killed in front of him. I couldn't remember his name, but it was Tony Sheridan.
Oh, okay.
Like he just did this, cleared his mind, and just kept playing, pretended he didn't even see it.
Well, Chris, on that note, I've got to show something now on that note. Yeah. And this is
there you go.
This is the Beatles, Tony Sheridan.
Oh, wow.
The Beatles featuring Tony Sheridan in the beginning, 1960.
Yep.
So I thought I'd show that. It's kind of part of the history, you know.
Nice.
I'll make myself small again. Okay. You come across this stuff when you're out searching, and you go, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll just buy this." You know. Sometimes you don't realize it's important till later.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
okay, so let's see here. So when the Beatles manager Brian Epstein secured them their first audition with Decca Records in early 1963, Epstein decided that the band should play a set list that sounded, they were playing like Little Richard, the screaming like Little Richard, and they were kind of wild and crazy and good, okay? But Epstein decided that the band should play a set that sounded more refined than the tracks the group had performed in Hamburg. So in front of studio executives, the group played Three Cool Cats. I'm talking horrible stuff. Three Cool Cats became Mucho, and the Sheik of Araby. There's a reason you might not recognize these songs. The record company wasn't impressed and decided against signing them. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
they just blew them off. They couldn't stand those songs. When another opportunity presented itself in 1962 to audition for George Martin and the Parlophone label, the band didn't make the same mistake twice. They returned to the hard-driving Little Richard rhythm style and blues, and they had mastered, of course, under the tutelage in Hamburg, Little Richard's tutelage. They were offered a contract provided they find a better drummer, which is where Ringo Starr entered the story. Okay, so they were said, well, you can have a contract, but you got to get a better drummer, man. This guy sucks. So in late '63, the group recorded their first album, Please Please Me. And you know what's funny? We came from Michael Nolan's show, and Michael Nolan was going through all the Beatles studio albums, and he wanted you to say what you thought was the best song on each album and what you thought was the worst song on each album. But what was crazy is you got the UK versions, which are kind of considered the real versions. Then you have your American versions. Sometimes have different names. Maybe the second album has a completely different name. And then the songs are actually, some of them are different. So I was having a little trouble. I've got a few Parlophone, from England, but most of my stuff is the American stuff. So anyway, I just worked my way through it. But so in late '63, the group recorded their first album, Please Please Me, in 10 hours over the course of one day. Can you imagine that? In one day and 10 hours, they recorded that because they were tight. And these were, well, it goes on, the tracks like, these were the songs, basically, that was just their live show from the Star Club, in Hamburg, Germany. So these tracks, like I Saw Her Standing There, Please Please Me, the album's final song, Twist and Shout, borrowed heavily from the style of Little Richard. On the album, Lennon's voice was noticeably harsh. It sounded raw and edgy, just like the man they had studied in Germany. A few months after the recording session, the group famously appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, which catapulted them to, international stardom. The rest is kind of history. But, I got to say a little more about Little Richard because he was so prominent in their early development. Little Richard had a profound influence on the Beatles, teaching them the energetic three-chord style of rock and roll that became their trademark. He provided crucial guidance, inspiration during the band's early residency in Hamburg, Germany, where he performed on the same bill and even helped Paul McCartney refine his vocal style. The formative mentorship, along with the Beatles' emulation of the sound, was instrumental in securing that first record deal and launching them into global stardom. Okay, so Little Richard played so much bigger of a role, and I've covered Little Richard's role. He takes a little bit of credit for the Beatles' career. Not quite the way I'm saying it, but just the help he gave them. Okay, so Little Richard's dynamic energy approach, characterized by powerful piano playing, driving rhythm, and signature wails, deeply impressed John Lennon and Paul McCartney. They were learning from the master as far as they were concerned. As a young band, the Beatles were avid fans of Little Richard's music. Paul McCartney particularly was influenced at 14 years old, watching him in a movie, and this became the foundation for the band's sound. Now, that's a pretty cool story. I don't know how many people realize just how much the Beatles were influenced by Little Richard. But I can really hear it in a lot of the early stuff with the screams that the Beatles do and stuff like that.
It's funny. Little Richard was born in 32. which
oh my God.
yeah, and his Richard Wayne Penniman was his name.
Yeah.
Yep, 1932. That'd make him what, 93 if he was still alive.
Yeah. Isn't
Yep,
that crazy?
that's now. How old was he when he met the Beatles? What year was that?
Uh,
60.
yeah, about that. Yeah.
So he's about 30,
Yeah.
28,
Right.
30.
Right.
Yeah,
Did you guys see
yeah, and
this?
they were
Can you
kids.
guys
So
see
yeah.
this comment by Dwayne Chamberlain? I have at least one album of Tony Sheridan featuring the Beatles. Yes, the Beatles wound up being a backup band for a while for Tony Sheridan. That's correct.
Paying the dues.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do. You gotta pay your dues if you want to sing the blues. Just ask Ringo about that. That might have been his biggest hit. I actually like that song. I thought it was totally cool.
It don't come easy.
No, it don't come easy.
Oh, here
You
we
don't
go.
have to scream. What was it? You don't have to shout or scream about or jump about. I can't remember. You can even play them easy.
Right. Absolutely, Chris Barlow. Go figure, right?
Right. The Four Horsemen, Dr. Rick. Have you played that Tony Sheridan Beatles album? I have. I played it today. What did I think? Well, all these albums are so old. I mean, especially the Beatles Hamburg albums, which I'm going to show in just a minute. As old as they are, the Beatles were a tight band. They were a good band by the time these things were recorded on some simple little recording device about that big, And somebody made a comment earlier. They don't understand with all the modern technology why these early Hamburg, Germany, 62, 64, why somebody hasn't taken them, the record label hasn't taken them, brought a little AI in and separated all the instruments and put them all back together. They could do something amazing because they sound decent anyway. I mean, you could tell they were cheap recordings. It was like a kid with his little tape recorder, but amazing things can be done with that.
Just make sure you don't pull the 80s again and then just make it all so polished that you lose the whole gist of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, a lot of those early recordings, they have to have that rust to it. They have to have that grit. It's what the hell? I mean,
right.
That's the feeling. That's what everybody loved. Especially, I don't have LPs, but I mean, I remember when I was a kid, that grit you could feel. Just it's a different feel. I mean, I grew up with CDs, and I love my CDs. But
right. So, Chris, you don't have like a record player. You're not into the albums.
I had a whole bunch of albums when I was younger, but when I moved around a couple of times, it was easier just to bring CDs with me than the albums.
Yeah.
Oh, it's certainly easier. Yeah, I was just curious. I have my reasons for being curious, but
absolutely, I've got no suspicions. Believe me. At least none that I'm going to say publicly and play my hand out yet. Remember what we mentioned earlier with Nick? You got to keep that that blackmail evidence on hand. Nick and I are keeping an eye on you.
I was just thinking. You're talking about the old recordings, pulling each individual sound out of it. That must be really difficult to do because they're mainly recorded in mono, and a lot of times the entire band would play in one room. They just mic up.
Yeah,
they weren't in separate rooms, separate tracks. They were. I don't know how they could pull one instrument out. That'd be kind of difficult.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I can see, because when did they perfect stereo? The early '60s, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
guys, when I think of the Beatles and the journey they've been on, how they started out so young, 15, 16, 17 years old, playing in bands, not even old enough to be in the places they were playing in, and how they turned into this, like, probably the biggest band the world has ever seen. I mean, it's just amazing me.
Well, they're early.
And especially since they're really only officially a band for 10 years.
Yeah.
Which is really a short period of time considering some of these bands been around for 40, 50 years.
They quit touring in '66. I think it was right after the Japanese tour where they played at a place where they were kind of criticized for playing there. It was kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of a sacred spot. I saw the name of it the other day, but I can't remember the name of it. Can anybody remember what that was?
No. I keep thinking Budokan, but that's absolutely not
That's
it.
what it was. I think that's what it was.
What? Oh, yeah. Well, they must have been one of the first ones to play there then, right? Because after a while, it became like everybody recorded there. I mean,
yeah, it seemed like they lightened up after a while, but yeah.
Like Cheap Trick, don't they have the one album Live at Budokan and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been running into more and more of them. I did a story, 2 or 3 years ago on the Beatles, maybe 2 years ago, and I talked about why they quit touring, and they just got, and Michael Nolan put it well. I mean, they toured incessantly. I mean, it was nonstop. When they first started touring in stadiums, the audio equipment wasn't up to speed. Ringo would say he'd have to watch the way their butts were moving to try to keep the beat, because he couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear each other because, of course, all the screaming fans, the screaming girls, going crazy, crying over the Beatles. Wow.
No in-ear monitors.
What would that be like?
Well, I can kind of tell you with the show I do on Wednesdays, and I play video clips and everything, and some of the ones considering they're all mime performances anyways, but the Ed Sullivan Show performance, I can't even listen to that because all you hear is the screaming. You can't even hear the music. Even when it's being piped in from the studio and being mimed, you still can't even hear it. So you imagine, like you just said, if you have to watch the back of your bandmates to see. Right. I can understand why John got so frustrated. I mean,
I mean, Chris, they were into stadiums before the equipment could handle stadiums.
Oh yeah,
and that went on
way
for quite
before.
A while. That went on for quite a while. Remember when we talked to Mark Farner, he was saying the same thing when they played Shea Stadium, just like the Beatles. They were just so loud they couldn't really hear themselves. God,
well, they had to tour to make any money because 13 albums over 10 years isn't an overabundance of material. But
right.
And even to this day, that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
Right. And can you guys see this comment from Michael Nolan? I brought up earlier that the English version of the Beatles albums are always different from the American version. I think it wasn't until about Sgt. Pepper's that maybe we had the better version. I don't know, but Michael's saying my list of albums, because I brought this up earlier, by the Beatles tonight were the UK editions. And I only have a couple of those, so I was like, well, let's see. I guess it's this one, Those are the albums the Beatles recognize. I have American versions too, and I grew up with them. I don't know any better. I know. See, that's the problem I was having. I think there was only one album I didn't vote, best and worst, Michael, and it was Help, because by the time I went over there and dug the next 4 or 5 out, you'd already gone through Help, so I didn't bother. I just skipped it. But I think every other album there, I actually gave my best and worst, for better or worse, So thanks, Michael. I thought you had a great show tonight.
Yeah, it was a really good show.
Anybody that has
wait. A really good show tonight.
Yeah, really good show. Really good. God, what happened to all those people? They got old and died,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yep. Same road we're going down.
See,
that's the truth.
Just want to make a comment on, we were talking about how young the Beatles and that when they started. That was kind of a thing. If you wanted to be a big musician, you almost had to start that young. I mean, for example, one that comes to mind was Steve Winwood. He was what? When he started playing professionally in bands. And I mean, look at the genius of music he is, So you get started that early, and you learn, for example, just being a teenager in Hamburg, just learning how to protect yourself and survive in that, and not to mention the chops you learn playing all like 10-hour sets. Most definitely. I mean,
that was the same way with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie Ray Vaughan was the same way. He was underage and had a hard time getting into clubs to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it true that they had to have George facing the back wall sometimes just so they didn't get busted while they were playing?
Well, not only George, but the one you mentioned earlier. Let's see, what was his name? The first guy you started with?
Stewart?
Oh, no.
Steve Winwood.
Oh, Winwood.
Stevie Winwood was 8 or 9 years old. They turned the piano away where he was looking away from the stage in the hopes that they wouldn't get thrown out of the joint,
Well, wasn't he touring with his dad then?
Yeah, but they were still playing in bars.
Yes.
Yeah, where he wasn't near old enough. But what a talent, man. I love that guy, you know. All his stuff. I mean, it's just all good. The guy he was a child prodigy, obviously, up there playing in bands at 8 and 9 years old. I can't even fathom that.
If he ever did any work with the Beatles, I wonder. So I know they were all kind of in the same area, like they're all.
Well, that's true. I don't recall hearing that he had, but who knows, you know?
Just curious. It popped in my head. I wonder, that would be pretty interesting if those two had worked together.
Yeah, Al Ball says that the Beatles were influenced by Motown too. I can totally see that, you know, kind of an extension of Little Richard, because I was huge Motown fan. There was a period of time when that was all I was listening to, you know, a certain period of time, and I still listen to it today, you know. I mean, I've done shows on so many different, you know, people in Motown. Otis Redding, you know, I mean, I loved Otis Redding, Dock of the Bay. Wow. I always say, if you could find someone that's listened to the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding more than I have, please introduce me. I need to shake his hand, because I can't imagine there's anybody out there that has. I love that song, you know, Otis Redding, Marvin Gaye, even a little older, the Four Tops. You know, I got to see Temptations, of course. I love the Temptations. I got to see the Temptations and the Four Top together in concert twice.
Oh, wow.
At the Paso Robles Fairgrounds here. And of course, they were older, you know, but I mean, it wasn't like a normal stadium concert. It's a big stadium, you know, but they had tables down on the flat area, and you sat at a nice table with white linen on it, and listened to the Four Tops and Temptations do their thing. And oh my God, it was like, as much as I loved both those bands when I was a teenager, it was like a highlight of my life watching that. And, you know, they weren't big. I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, you know, we had, you know, Van Halen was there and different people. It was nothing like that. It was just a small, intimate group of people that loved old soul music, you know. And,
Motown and the Beatles came around about the same time. I think it was Motown was like 1959, I think, is when Motown started. So it's funny they both started about, that was a big
right.
Big shift in music about that time, 59 and 60.
Right. No, that's exactly right. Well, you know what? I think what I'm going to do, I think it's time to show my Hamburg, Germany albums by the Beatles. So, yeah. Okay, please. So there's two of them. There's volume 1 and there's volume 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is show, okay, let me make sure this looks good.
Oh, wow.
Okay, the Beatles up here in the corner, it says volume 1. Nice. And then down here a little lower, I've never seen
such beauty.
It says Hamburg, Germany. So anyway, I mean, I love this thing. You can see the price tag up here. What did I pay for it? $14. I listened to this also today, but I've got to read the set list. I got to put my glasses on to do that, especially after getting all that shampoo in my eyeball today. Okay, so it starts out with Where Have You Been All My Life? 1 minute and 55 seconds, right? Then it goes on to A Taste of Honey. Now, I should read the people who wrote these songs, because these are all covers. Okay, Where Have You Been All My Life? Cynthia Wall and Barry Mann. Okay, A Taste of Honey, Bobby Scott, Rick Marlowe, Your Feet's Too Big. Your Feet's Too Big. Who sings songs about that? Benson and Fisher, Mr. Moonlight, R. Johnson, Basami Mucho, T. Velasquez, I'm Going to Sit Right Down and Cry Over You, J. Thomas and H. Biggs, Bebop Balula, Gene Vincent, you know, a real rock forerunner, Gene Vincent and T. Davis. Okay, on side 2, we have Hallelujah, I Love Her So. Hallelujah, I Love Her So. Ray Charles wrote that song. Ray Charles. Hallelujah, I Love Her So. Till There Was You, Meredith Wilson wrote it. Okay, I love these two. Sweet Little 16. Sweet Little 16 and Little Queenie, both Chuck Berry. So these were their influences. These were the people whose songs they were singing, you know. Kansas City, Hey, 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 Jay Leiber and M. Stroller and R. Penniman. And Hully Gully, F. Smith and C. Goldsmith, okay. But I mean, does anybody want me to read the notes on the back? I mean,
Sure.
I think it's kind of interesting. I don't want to
Is
put
there
anybody.
is there a release date on that?
Yeah, I think it was around. I think it was around. That's not what anybody wants to hear. I think this was recorded in 62. Yeah, it's right here, Hamburg, Germany, 1962. Now I'm not going to say that was the release date. I think it was released much later, but
That's
it
about
was recorded in 62. And what it says here is this is it. Inside this package, the first recordings of the Beatles live, including Ringo, along with every bit of the stop energy and libbing, clowning, mocking, and excitement that makes a live club band what it is, and what made the Beatles become what they became. For those, okay, for these are the Beatles. This is their history. The raucous vitality of rock and roll in its early years. You must hear this. Lennon's irreverent caustic wit, McCartney's Little Richard voice, Ringo's famous boom papa rock and roll beat, Harris's leads and vocal harmonies, without studio retakes, without overdubs or synthesizers. The real Beatles, real rock and roll, baby, real rock and roll. Okay, the album is a collector's item. Thank you. I'm glad I have it for $14. It captures an explosion of energy, a rollicking Saturday night Hamburg, Germany in 1962. The Star Club. Every Beatlemania fantasy, seeing and hearing the Beatles live in a club where the audience is part of the performance. They got so big, so fast, that few from the USA ever had that experience. Gather your friends, turn up the volume, and have it. Stephen Rossi. And for those who want all the background of this recording, here it is. So they talk about different Liverpool stuff. Liverpool singer King Size Taylor originally recorded his first tape of John, Paul, George, and Ringo for a lark. The tape was subsequently lost and not rediscovered until 1972. The Beatles' original manager, Alan Williams, found it in a deserted Merseyside office beneath a pile of rubble on the floor. He immediately launched a campaign to have the tape re-released, but even once legal obstacles had been cleared, a larger one remained. The tape had been recorded with a single microphone at 3 3/4 IPS on a Grundia home tape recorder, and the verdict of almost everyone who heard it, including the Beatles, was that the sound quality was absolutely hopeless. But when you're dealing with a property as hot as this one, miracles can be made possible. Okay, Lingasong Records, which had obtained rights to the tape, decided, guys, this will blow your mind, decided to invest some $100,000, as much as it had cost the Beatles to record Sgt. Pepper's, their most extravagant work, in the most ambitious reconstruction job in the history of the recording industry at the time. The monaural tape was painstakingly converted into a 16-track master recording. Producer Larry Grossberg, Billboard reported, separated the information track by track using Berwyn DBX. I'm sure there's people out there that know a whole lot more about this than I do. Anyway, and Dolby noise suppressors, URI compressors and limiters, Orban Parasound and API sibilance controllers, API equalizers, God, Capex noise gates, audio design spectrum analyzer, and then Orban stereo synthesizer, a special group of new Ashley parametric equalizers capable of suppressing frequencies of 0.05 of an octave was extremely valuable in recouping practically all the rhythm tracks and bringing out substantial lead voices and background vocals when they were apparently drowned out by general extraneous extraneous sounds. Despite the performers' own objections aired in court, too late to have any effect, the Beatles' nightclub performance came as a fascinating counterpoint to sounds of Beatlemania at the Hollywood Bowl. This is 1977, The Beatles Forever. Wow, man. That's all right there, okay? All right there. I love that this, I mean, they're out there, but like I said, I paid $14 for this one.
Incredible.
And I couldn't be happier about it. So I think we have to follow up now and do volume 2, okay? Right here it says volume 2, the Beatles live recordings, once again, Hamburg, Germany, 1962, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, okay? So, well, I'm going to have to, no, I'm sorry. The track list is on the back. I'll read the track list first. Side 1, Nothing's Shaken But the Leaves on the Trees. That was a C. I know, isn't that funny? C.
Right.
Colatry, E. Fountain, D. Lampert, and J. Cleveland wrote that. Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. Carl Perkins, okay, Carl Perkins. Matchbox, once again, Carl Perkins. I'm Talking About You, Chuck Berry. Long Tall Sally, E. Johnson and R. Penniman. Penniman, right, okay. Roll Over Beethoven, Chuck Berry once again. Hippie Hippie Shake, Romeo. Chan Romeo. Side 2, Falling in Love Again, S. Lerner and F. Hollander. Lend Me Your Comb, Twomey, Weiss, and Weissman, Hill, and Range Songs. Wow, that's a mouthful. Sheila, Tommy Rowe. Red Cells in the Sunset, J. Kennedy and H. Williams. To Know Her Is to Love Her, Phil Spector. Phil Spector, oh my God. Shimmy Shake, Joe South and Billy Land. I Remember You, Jay Mercer and V. Shortsinger. Wow. Anybody want me to read this? It's got its own little story. I'll only read it if you want me to. I don't want to drive anybody crazy or bore anybody here.
Not boring me.
Okay, this is it. Inside the package, the first recording of the Beatles live, including Ringo, along with every bit of the stop, energy, ad-libbing, clowning, mocking, and excitement that makes a live club what it is. Sounds kind of familiar. What made the Beatles become what they became? That's okay. I'm skipping down through here, and I'm seeing that this was the exact thing, the exact liner notes that are on this one. Okay. Yeah, no, it's identical. These are identical. I'm not going to read the same thing twice, but I mean, these are absolutely identical. Okay.
So they even copy and pasted back in those days.
Right. Okay, guys. Well, it's been a fun show. I appreciate all of you. Al Val's on. Al Val. Michael Nolan's got something to say here. Let's see.
I got a little bit of McCartney trivia that I read about that I never knew. In 1965, he was riding a moped in Liverpool and was looking at the full moon. Got distracted by the full moon and crashed the moped and landed face first on the concrete. Chipped a tooth, and on his left side of his lip, it was swollen up. He had to have stitches in his lip.
Wow.
And luckily, that was after their 1965 tour, so he wasn't really seen out in public a lot. But so he grew a mustache to cover the stitches and all that.
Scar.
But they said they said if you watch the Paperback Writer music video, you can kind of see, it was months later, so it was looking better. But he didn't have a mustache then, so you can kind of still see it drooping a little bit.
Okay. That's an interesting story. Thanks for sharing that, Dan. Caitlin Stoddard. They were. Oh, okay. Dr. Insomnia. Not for a while, just one album. They didn't gig with him. Part of a story we missed, I mean. Okay, Brian, two of the Beatles, along with their two women, briefly visited the international air at Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, on May 2nd, 64. They were John George with Cynthia and Patty. That's interesting. Paul bass lines were influenced by James Motown session bass player. That's interesting too. I mean, the stuff you learn from everybody here, you know. Yep. Everybody knows something about this. Michael Nolan, the bottom line, I think we followed UK releases, except Please Please Me was second. Maybe I'm wrong, but I bought them backwards. one buys on release. Yeah. Hey, Paul, Psychos Platters, how you doing, brother? Good evening, all. Good to see you, Paul. Chris Barlow, James Watson, correct. She had a terrific influence on the Beatles, bringing them to a close.
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll put money on UK 1963. Please Please Me was the first album.
Yep.
Yes.
Can I follow up, Nick? I was just going to read a section out of the book that talks about just that right there.
Do it.
There's
go ahead. Yeah.
All right. When they returned to Liverpool again, they were a local record shop owner, Brian Epstein, arranged for an unproductive audition at Decca Records. The band returned to Hamburg, where they were telegrammed by Epstein. George Martin at EMI Records liked their demo tapes, and a recording session had been fixed. With this decisive step in front of them, Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison decided to outbest and offer the job to Ringo Starr, who had been playing with Rory Stone and the Hurricanes in Hamburg at the same time as the Beatles. Then it says, under the guidance of producer George Martin, henceforward to play a very important role until almost the very end. True. The first single, Love Me Do, was a minor hit towards the end of the year, but it was not until 1963 and Please Please Me, which topped the UK charts and started the ball rolling for what eventually became Beatlemania. Two more hits, From Me to You and She Loves You, followed, as well as their debut album, Please Please Me.
Yep.
But it was not until their fifth single, I Want to Hold Your Hand, was promoted by Capitol Records in the US that the group achieved recognition there in 1964. By the time of their first US tour in April 64, their records were incredibly filling the top 5 positions of the Cashbox single charts. So yeah, Please Please Me was first, but it was their singles first before they released the original album.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Often there was a single that came out, sometimes only a month early, but they came out.
Yep.
Better than Mike. Okay. I like the US Rubber Soul better, Michael. Well, that's interesting. Most of mine, I maybe have 3 to 4 Parlophone, English versions of the Beatles, right. And the rest of them are, like Apple or whatever.
So Parlophone is the original. That's the UK versions, and Apple Records, the American versions.
Pretty much, yeah. For the most part, I'll say for the most part, nothing's ever hard and fast.
No.
I'm realizing how far behind on the chat I am. I'm looking at things we were talking about over 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, you're about an hour behind, I think.
Yeah, you need 3 eyeballs to keep up.
I like the fact that the chat is so big, Groovy
Yes.
Lisa, hey Groovy, good to see you. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, we're at 120.
Appreciate everybody that shows up. How can you not? I mean, they're supporting your show. Caitlin Stoddard, hi Lisa. Groovy Lisa.
Get those thumbs up.
Okay, Dwayne Wawadika, my buddy Dwayne Wawadika, Al Val. The U.S. Magical Mystery Tour was great too. Yeah, I think that was that beat anything they did over there in England.
Yeah.
Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour. Those are definitely
like Mystery Tour over Sgt. Pepper. Dare I say, I think Sgt. Pepper is just a wee bit overrated compared to some of their other stuff. I like Magical Mystery. My favorite Beatles song, or one of them, is actually "Fool on the Hill" from Magical Mystery.
That is a great song. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a lot of people just jump over it, whatever. But I always like that. That's Magical Mystery Tours. The White Album is my favorite. Mystery Tour is probably my second favorite. Then Revolver and Rubber Soul are kind of tied.
Well, you missed that show by an hour and a half. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I got the very end of it, I wasn't even able to get in the chat.
I'm picking at you.
Yeah, well, Dwayne Chamberlain is talking about the 2 versions of A Hard Day's Night. and all I have is the American version, kind of the red cover with the 4 faces, and the English version has a bunch of small pictures on the front. And I've passed on that back before I knew what the hell I was doing, between the 2 versions. And I really kicked myself for missing out because I came across it a couple of times. Michael Nolan, when push comes to shove, Brian, that is the one exception to the UK rule. I too like the American version, but it ain't real. Even Sgt. Pepper's wasn't the same. USA didn't have the inner track like the UK. Well, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Dwayne Wolotica, my buddy. Stevie Winwood was 8 when he was involved. Yes, he was playing in his dad and brother's band at 8 years old. Quite right, Dwayne, and the American version sucks. Dang, man.
Of course, like Michael mentioned earlier, nobody realized they sucked when we first, well, I'm going to say this, when we first grew up listening to them, myself with my cousins and my dad's album collections, but,
Right.
So if you didn't know any better, the American versions were awesome until you started,
until you realized that they weren't the real deal.
You don't know what you don't know.
Well, we had that American version of A Hard Day's Night, and I had the original album cover. My brother had taken an ink pen and put horns on all the Beatles, And he said, well, how do you know it was me? It might have been you. Well, I guess there's a slight outside chance it was me. But we were little kids when we had that in the house. It's really surprising. My dad brought it home. We're talking about a man that refused to buy me Beatle boots in spite of all my begging and explaining how every one of my friends had them, and I just don't fit in anymore. I need Beatle boots. Of course, my brother had 3 pairs, one for every day of the week. But that's how younger brothers are. You fight all the battles, they don't want to deal with it again, so they just give in instantly. Of course, I got in a little more trouble than he did too. That might have been part of it.
Yeah, it might explain it.
Might explain something.
I always wanted the wide belt with the big square belt buckles, like the guys in the Monkees used to wear. They used to have the big belt.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No doubt. I always look for a belt that's got, the first hoop that you put the belt through right outside the buckle has got like a soft leather one, not some big steel buckle that sticks out, because I feel like it like cuts in when I sit down if I wear those kind. But anyway, I don't know. I think every time I listen to any Beatles music, or even go through the albums and pull them out like I did during Michael's show, I have, I think, every album. Some of them have different names because they're American, not UK. But I mean, I have a big volume of Beatles albums, and so I participated in this contest. Not contest, but just you had to name the best and the worst Beatles song on every single album, even though sometimes there were 3 or 4 tied for best, and there were no bad songs. You still had to pick them, So I had all the albums, so I was able to go through and do it. I just got behind on one of them, and I think it was Help, and so it passed me by, and I didn't get to comment on it. But anyway, I commented on all the rest of them, and it was fun doing that. It was a fun show. It was really hard picking them, and you know what? You just realize how much you really, at some point in your life, absolutely loved the Beatles when you're working your way through all these albums and reading all the songs and reminiscing how much you liked them all, because you did. You liked the Beatles songs. They were great songs,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you thought at one point they were a little bit square and the Rolling Stones were a little bit more, edgy, and edgy was cool and all that stuff. But I mean, the Beatles had great songs. That's all there is to it, And I need to start listening to a lot more of what I have. Joseph Blue, I have the Tony Sheraton and the Best Brothers CD. Right on.
Nice.
Yeah. These things, they just pop up here and there. So anyway, I think we're kind of winding down here. I'm trying to work I hate to leave anybody's comment unshown if I can do it. It's not always easy.
Yeah, we're getting hit with trolls now. Everybody's picking people out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scroll down then and see what I see here.
Well, the trolls are getting booted, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just last week.
It's hard to see
Nice
when
thing
we're on
about
the.
So does anybody
Go ahead.
remember what any of the names were?
Jeff's last words. Something. Another one. Kaylin kept nailing something. Twat. I don't know.
Twat waffle.
Twat waffle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, yeah.
That was the name of one of the trolls. Boy, that's
Yeah.
that's a macho troll name if I ever heard of one.
Yeah. Well, one thing nice about the Beatles is, don't listen. I don't listen to an album that often. When I feel like some Beatles, it doesn't matter which one I grab. I can pop it on, sing every song, every word to every song, have a good time, and flip it over and do it again. It's just, it doesn't matter which one you grab. It's just fun.
That is so true. I mean, you look at a song and you can just about sing the entire song.
Oh yeah, and, there's some bands where you want to be picky with which album you pick because some weren't, that great as others. But with the Beatles, blind man can pick a good one out of the 13 and the rest of the compilations and have a good time. That's what's nice. And it's for
That's
any
exactly
age group.
right.
Yeah.
Any age group.
Age group.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. And even the songs that you originally liked when you were an early teen,
Yeah.
you see them and you reminisce about them and you still like them. That never goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, that
absolutely.
was like the biggest thing on earth, the British invasion, but led by the Beatles, who were the biggest part of the British invasion, the leaders of the British invasion.
You got to give it to them because their first invasion didn't go over so well for them. The American Revolution.
That's true.
But votes.
Well, hey, you don't want to tax Americans. They don't like it.
Yeah. One thing I noticed about the Beatles, maybe it was all the bands back in that day, but I was looking at their 1965 U.S. tour. It wasn't much of a tour. It was 16 days.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's only like 10 shows.
Yep.
It's like, well, nowadays they tour 365 days a year. I mean,
that's crazy, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot more stadiums and ballparks. And let's face it, the population has grown immensely.
Yeah.
The cities have grown considerably. I mean,
right. Hey, Dr. Rick, thank you. He says, great show. Thanks. We appreciate you,
To touch on what you were just saying, Nick, about how timeless the music is. I remember, I've mentioned it a few times on here, that when I was a kid, I used at my memes, my mom's mom, she lived right across the parking lot from a library. So I'd go over there and borrow records and everything. And some of my favorite ones, and still my favorite to this day, were the Beatles records, like Abbey Road, Sgt. Pepper, all the basically Revolver, Magical Mystery Tour, as I mentioned earlier. That was one of my favorites. Fool on the Hill.
Yeah.
And then there was others like Simon and Garfunkel, Bob Dylan, Janis Joplin, all that stuff. But the Beatles, I remember listening to that stuff. I enjoyed it so much. And if I grab one of those records today, like you said, Nick, it doesn't matter which one. You just enjoy it. Like,
yeah. I mean, you can't take anything away from any of them.
your worries, your thoughts, and all that is going to disappear for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's
exactly
the magic
right.
of music, man. Because I can personally testify, music has the magic to do anything. It saved my life back a few years ago when I was having a really bad time, and I can testify, like, it literally did save my life. So, music is timeless, especially the great stuff.
Oh, well, God bless you. So glad you're here with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think the most I ever listened to the Beatles when I was in the military, stationed overseas. I worked on a floating dry dock of nuclear subs. So at the end of the day, we were transported back to our barracks. Well, my roommate, he was a Beatle freak. I mean, and stereos over there were really cheap, so everybody had a really kick-ass stereo over there. But you got 3 guys in a room, you got 3 kick-ass stereos, so you have to take turns playing the stereo.
Yeah.
And so my roommate, he'd always put on the Beatles every single day. I heard the Beatles, he put on the Beatles and I put on Black Sabbath, and the other
There
guy
you
put
go.
on Kiss. So after 16 months over there, hearing the Beatles every single day for 16 months,
Yeah.
I got to pretty much know them, But I did listen to the Beatles before that, but he kind of brainwashed me with it,
How many of the
Well-
Beatles albums did you eventually play backwards?
No.
I mean, 16 months is a lot of Beatles.
But I got to tell you, though,
Well,
'cause since I played Black Sabbath and all that, he became a Black Sabbath fan, and he never listened to them before that. So
Right.
we got to enjoy each other's type of music, get used to it, different types
Yep.
of music.
Well, that's the absolute best part is if you stick with one genre, no matter what it is, even classic rock, it gets boring after a while. You got to have variety.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan, that story you told about the stereo equipment coming back, that's a real standout to me from the whole Vietnam era. I mean, all of my friends that were my age, their brothers that were 1 or 2 years older that went to Vietnam, they all sent back the most amazing stereo equipment I ever heard in my life. That was the best stuff I've ever heard, bar none.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's dirt cheap over there too. The most expensive
And it was
part,
dirt cheap, yeah.
The most expensive part was shipping it. If you were hired,
right.
Because I shipped it straight to my parents' house. So the receiver back. I remember this is 1975. The receiver I wanted here stateside would cost $1,095.
Okay.
I paid like $300 for it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, and that's just amazing.
It's a Pioneer QX 949A. I still remember it.
Nice.
Right. And where was that made at? Do you remember?
Someplace
One of the Asian countries for sure.
Well,
yeah.
it was a Pioneer, so wherever Pioneer made it, I had Pioneer and I had 4 Sansui speakers. I had the whole setup. I mean, and we're not talking little speakers. We're talking big speakers.
Oh no,
yeah.
the big
back,
one. Yeah.
back in those days, the heavier the better.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sold them by the
big old
pound.
magnets, big old speakers. That's right. Yeah.
Well,
And they sounded great.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, I remember growing up with my uncle's stereo. My dad, they had the tower speakers, 250 watt speakers, sometimes 400 watt.
Yeah.
If you had it on and you were standing in the middle of the room, the music, Nick, like you described to your system, it just hits you.
Oh
You can feel it. Nowadays, I mean, I got a surround sound system and it sounds good, but it's not quite the same as having those speakers just smashing.
Right.
Yeah, you got to have the power. You got to have the power coming at you.
When you can feel it in your chest, you're doing good.
Yeah.
In more ways than one, too. I mean, physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. Well, they're interconnected. There's no separating the two.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, guys, thank you guys for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Here's Pumping Vinyl. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's one of the losers.
Oh yeah. That's not a good.
Oh, one more release coming up. It'll be distributed December 12th. And I mentioned it earlier, but didn't have this bit of information. Was the Pink Floyd album, Wish You Were Here. They're releasing a Blu-ray version.
Oh, wow.
Relatively inexpensive. It'll have Atmos mix on it, all kinds of outtakes and such. So I think it was $26. I mean, that's pretty reasonable for a whole lot of music and stuff you probably haven't heard before. So, yep. It's on pre-order now.
Isn't there a David Gilmour documentary or music concert coming out on Wednesday at the IMAX?
Something like that.
I'm not sure.
I'm not a fan of throwing dollars his way anymore, as much as I can keep away from it.
Who, Gilmour or Waters?
I don't mind Gilmour. It's Waters.
Well, I'm sorry, Waters. Yeah, Gilmour's okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen it. I think I saw something on one of the streaming channels. I don't recall an advertisement for it.
Live at the Circus Maximus.
Yeah.
Live at the Circus Maximus, huh?
Yeah, starts September 17th. I've seen some video clips from it. It looks pretty nice. I mean, very interesting.
Oh my God, I'm coming into some real bad stuff here.
Yeah.
Well,
I've just completely banned three things I've come across.
Jason Roja, he's been there a few times. I remember his name.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of imposters too.
Yeah. I don't think.
I see his shows coming on. He just busted 1,000 subscribers, and
yeah, I don't think
I
he trolls.
I don't know if he trolls or it's imposters trolling under his name. It's just so hard to tell, you know.
Yeah.
I remember going on his show once, probably been 2 years or something. Anyway.
Also, if anybody hasn't seen Becoming Led Zeppelin yet at the theaters, you can now watch it on Prime. You can rent it on Prime.
Oh yeah, no, I have seen it.
Yeah.
How much are they asking to show it on Prime?
Normally it's like $3.98 or something like that, but to buy it's probably about $20.
Yeah,
it was $24.99 Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind owning it. I went over to Bakersfield, Betty and I did, and watched it on IMAX. And it was senior night. It was only like $6 each.
Stuff like that. I like to get.
I couldn't believe it. It was wonderful.
Senior night. God. It seems like only seniors watch it. You know.
hey! I'm not senior yet.
I personally like to wait for the physical copies to come out instead of buying it from a streaming service. Eventually, you know you're going to lose it on a streaming service.
Well, I'll tell you what, nothing
is out right now, and the steel box is coming out. The 4K steel box is out September 30th, but the regular Blu-ray, I believe, is already out.
For which one?
For Becoming Led Zeppelin.
It is? Okay, yeah. I didn't know it was out.
At least it's available to buy on Amazon. I'm not 100% sure if it's just a pre-order or if it's actually out yet. But
yeah, the Pink Floyd one was on pre-order.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, nothing beats seeing it in IMAX, man. The sound, it was great.
There's a bunch of new stuff.
I didn't get to see it in IMAX, but I did the last day of the last show here in Windsor, and I went and saw it, and it was crazy. There was only 2 other people in the theater with us.
Wow. Same way when I went there. There weren't very many when I went, too.
Oh, I was surprised. I figured because it was only here in Windsor for 7 days. But the problem with that thing is they didn't have very good promotion for it.
Yeah.
And just the limited release didn't help either.
Oh, I just went to Amazon, and it states that it's currently unavailable, the Becoming Led Zeppelin. Now, you can rent it, but you can't buy it. Let's see. You got posters. What's that?
The physical copy is not available right now, but at least on YouTube, I was able to buy it. I watched it the other day, actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Dr. Rick says Pioneer was Japan as far as the audio equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What I thought.
That makes sense, you know.
Yep.
Well, the best stereo I had, my uncle gave it to me, was an old Marantz. It had an EQ on it and everything. That's what he was pumping out the 400-watt speakers with.
Yeah. And
then he got another stereo, and I ended up getting the hand-me-downs, which didn't really hurt my feelings because
right.
It was better than anything I had. I mean, hell, at one time I had a Walkman and a car speaker, like somebody pulled out of the back of a car, and I hooked them together, and that was a stereo I had for a short time. So,
yeah, if you go on Amazon,
no, go ahead, Dan.
On the Becoming Led Zeppelin, if you go to Amazon and stream it, you can rent it. You can rent it for $5.99, or you can buy it for $7.99.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
it went on sale because it was $24.99 Canadian a couple months ago when I bought it. So.
Yeah, it did say $19.99. They got it marked out to $7.99.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been down here chasing a few trolls away that have been saying some pretty nasty things. Two of them.
They seem to be attacking Caitlin quite consistently.
Yeah, I mean that's really horrible.
Yeah.
Caitlin is like, about as sweet as she could possibly be, and for them to be saying some of the stuff I read, so I'm a little transfixed trying to get to the bottom because I don't time them out. I've canceled 5 posts. The people that put them out permanently. It was only 2 people, but What a day. We can't do a day without talking about the Beatles. Hey, Bill, that's exactly right.
Yeah, hey, Nick, when I got the Becoming Led Zeppelin on YouTube, they also had available that Live at Pompeii.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I bought them both on YouTube for streaming. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I purchased the disc.
Yeah, I got to get
And
that so I can take it up to my dad and have him watch it with me.
right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like I say, whenever possible, I prefer to buy the physical media
Same here.
because they're going to stop producing it, and then forever and ever, if you want to see it again or show it to a friend, you got to pay for it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just call. I just don't believe that these services will honor their side of the contract forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
Oh,
bunch of
man.
stuff I have on, like I have the song remains the same on Blu-ray. I have it on YouTube.
Right.
So I got it covered in both. You know, it's just
Yeah,
different.
it
things.
used to be you bought the physical and you got the streaming,
Streaming with it,
just
yeah.
register.
Yeah.
No, that's right. Yeah, they'd send you a little,
Yeah, you got a little code and you typed it in, you were
that's
good.
right. I've got 3 or 4 of them that I haven't typed in yet.
They have expiration dates.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
A
okay.
lot of people
Well,
don't realize that, and they just get blindsided with it.
yeah. You know what?
Like, what happened?
I have an old iTunes with a lot of stuff that I haven't added anything to in years, but at least I
Right.
kind of updated it all where I can still check it out,
Yeah.
Because, my taste in music doesn't really change. We add new stuff as time goes on.
Right.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, appreciate everybody joining the Four Horsemen tonight. We reconvened the War Council and put another live podcast on. And I'm working on my membership. I got quite a few members, 20 something members. And what I'm
That's
trying to
odd.
do is I'm coming up with tiers, different tiers, and they'll have names, So anyway, looking forward to that. Having a little more fun. I like the the Four Horsemen concept. Okay, Michael Nolan, no, he won't, Caitlin. We all know he wakes up with the heart on for every morning. Actually, it's quite unnerving. I'm familiar with such people while working in a state mental institution. Michael, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And that's where all these people belong. I saw some of those comments, and they were, reprehensible. But anyway, guys, so thanks so much. Thank you, panel. Thank you for all my warriors in the chat. You're so appreciated. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please hit it. If you're watching this later, hit it, Dr. Pepper. And if you're
Go,
not
Pack,
already
go.
if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow it. And with that, we're going to sign off. And that's what's happening in Royce's world today. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you guys.
See you, everybody. Thanks.
See ya.
Good night.
Thanks. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you, Royce.
Yeah.